Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Humza Yousaf is always banging on about the climate crisis, or the climate emergency as he calls it. He's always going on about the importance of net zero, of renewables, of how Scotland is leading the way in getting rid of fossil fuel and doing everything through wind power and solar power, and all that old rubbish that he constantly spouts in the hope that we think he's in some way a half-decent human being. That ship has sailed. But he's had a lot of a stressful time recently, and he doesn't like all the stress. He wants to unwind and relax. And despite this climate crisis that he insists is actually happening, although there is no evidence of it, he's decided that the best way for him to relax is to take him and his current wife, Nadia El Nakla, a woman who won't take his name, and fly a third of the way round the world to Qatar by jet. So much for the climate crisis. It does appear that the First Minister is a bit of a hypocritical, two-faced twonk when it comes to the climate. He wants us to stay in our little ghettos while he sods off to Qatar to do what? Make up for the Mary McCallan break in Dubai, perhaps. Maybe Nadia wasn't pleased when he took, the Saturday girl to Dubai, and she says, me too, and so he takes her off to Qatar. Who knows? But it's sheer bloody hypocrisy. Let's have a look. Now you can understand why he wants to get away. He loses 2 ministers in a few days. His poll rating is through the toilet. Everybody is thinking that he's an ineffective leader. He's got Kate Forbes chasing his tail for leadership challenge. Nobody thinks the SNP are going to be successful. And there he is under so much pressure that he thinks the best thing to do is to run away and hide. And he's going to do it, of course, in Qatar. Because, hey, better to spend his money there than to spend it in Scotland and help Scottish businesses. And so he takes his current wife and they sod off on a jet plane after moaning that people shouldn't be using planes and mobile and cars and things like that. People should be stuck in their 15-minute ghettos, the policy that he's trying to push. Do as I say, not as I do. Humza Yousaf and current wife Nadia El Nakla fly out to Qatar as they escape the SNP and family woes. The First Minister and his Dundee councillor wife reportedly flew out to the Gulf state at the weekend, presumably so she can talk to lamp posts in Qatar. She likes talking to lampposts, this woman. And it's as they escape the troubles within the Scottish Government and the SNP, including the sudden resignation of Michael Matheson, because he knows, of course, that will lead to a lot of questions as to why he backed Matheson. And so what he's doing is, I'm going away, I'm having a little break, and so that he can miss PMQ, or FMQs, my apologies, FMQs, PM, hardly, but FMQs on Thursday, where he would have been subjected to many Michael Matheson questions. And if he takes this little break, he can get away, and he can sort of sub that out. And by the time he comes back, everyone will have forgotten about it and moved on in his tiny mind. Anyway, Humza Yousaf and his current wife Nadia El Nakla are understood to have flown out to Qatar for a short break, while the Scottish Parliament is in recess. The holiday comes at a difficult time for both of them, with SNP woes leading to a reshuffle. There's only one reshuffle that really matters, and that's the one where Humza Yousaf is reshuffled to the back benches. Or possibly better still, out of politics. Or even out of Scotland. The Herald reports that the First Minister and the Dundee councillor flew out to the Gulf state from Edinburgh on Saturday to enjoy a few days in the sunshine. The average cost of a return flight for one person, about £750. I don't care. It's a shame it's only a return rather than just one way, I think. SNP politicians have often spoken out against flying, with Rishi Sunak usually criticised for using a private jet for appearances in the UK. Long-distance travel is also frowned upon by environmentalists who complain about the amount of carbon which gets released to the atmosphere. And don't forget, it is the SNP that moan about things like climate change, about fossil fuels, about the need to be responsible, and all the other complete and utter bollocks that they shout when it suits them. And yet for him, he can ignore it all because he's one of the elite. He's one of the 1%ers. He's important. And while everyone else is kettled into their ghettos and eating the insect pie, he will be sitting there quaffing champagne and caviar at 30,000 feet. Fortunately this time, I think he's paid for it. I would hate to see that one go down on expenses. And I'm surprised he hasn't put it down and said, let's just see a fact-finding tour or something. Try to claim that back. Deputy First Minister Shona Robertson will be covering Mr Yousaf's duties. Well, it goes to show how little he does if she's capable, because we know she isn't. So if she's doing his duties, he must not have many duties, or at least they mustn't be very complex ones. Let's face it, she can't deal with complex things like, laces, books. Getting on a bus and paying the right fare is a bit of a challenge for her, isn't it, to be honest? Anyway, it said the First Minister is on leave during the parliamentary recess this week, with the Deputy First Minister covering his duties. For security reasons, the First Minister's travel arrangements are not made public. Do you think anybody cares? Do you think anybody... Security reasons. He's not important enough to even assassinate, is he? God, mildly curious, Regional governor sods off for a weekend of dirty sex with his wife for a change. Anyway, the break for the couple comes during a tough period in their private and public lives. Just last week, Shane Michael Matheson, who's a close ally of the First Minister, resigned as Health Secretary after the fraud and the lies and the just general seediness of being Michael Matheson. And of course, Humza Yousaf stuck up with him all the way through because, Michael's my friend and I agree with everything he does. Back him to the hilt. Turns out that hilt is now stuck firmly between the shoulders of Humza Yousaf's back, because Matheson could have resigned after PMQs and saved a bit of embarrassment, but decided to go before. I keep saying PMQs, FMQs, but decided to go beforehand and thus maximise the amount of trouble that Humza Yousaf was given. Wouldn't expect any less though, Matheson. Not very bright, is he? Anyway, it's confirmed that Matheson will face calls to completely resign as an MSP. If this goes through, and that would be a further blow to Yousaf's authority, because then you'd have a by-election and the Labour would probably win it, and that would just go to weaken his government even further. He's a very bad leader. He's not a leader at all, though, is he? There's a lot of people moaning about him. Anyway, he's faced criticism over the secretive administration formed by Nicola Sturgeon after she and members of the Inner Circle deleted all the WhatsApps. Despite the inquiry warning they must be kept, and yet they knew they had to. They'd rather go to jail for a bit of contempt and do a couple of years for contempt rather than doing life for mass murder, one presumes. In a recent poll for the Sunday Times, Mr Yousaf returned a net trust score of -25. With Miss Sturgeon ranked at -19. So a woman who allegedly has killed 4,500 people, maybe allegedly, is seen as more trustworthy than Humza Yousaf. That has got to be a personal problem for him. The man is not Mr Conviviality, is he? He's Mr Knob. If you're doing the Roger Hargreaves and you do the little Mr Men books, here's Mr Knob, and it would be Humza Yousaf walking along with no friends. He is really Billy No Mates, isn't he? He said, anyway, it's been a tough few months for the El Naklas as Nadia's pretendy brother... Nadia's actual brother, Ramsey, was arrested by charged by cops, and her other pretendy brother is still in Gaza. Obviously not a real brother, otherwise he'd have used his British passport to get out, and hasn't. Oh dear, what a shame. Not a brother, a lie. Another lie. That's what that is. But it's a bit hard, when you got one of the major dealers in Dundee is your brother, and you're like, oh, and even worse, you got a brother trapped in Gaza, maybe, if he's your brother. You got a brother who is one of the Dundee's biggest dealers and he's in trouble with the police. And then, worst of all, you wake up one morning, you realise you're married to the First Minister. Poor woman. You feel sorry for her sometimes, don't you? But she made that choice, and that's her problem. Anyway, I'll stop there and I'll come up and we'll finish the video. What's going to be great is the next time at FMQs, when Humza Yousaf stands up and starts talking about the environment, people will say, but doesn't the First Minister think it's rather odd and wrong for people to just get on a plane and fly all the way to Qatar for a few days holiday rather than staying in Scotland, spending the monies here, improving our economy and not damaging the environment? And next time he mentions climate change, climate environment, climate crisis or anything like that. You say, well, certainly there isn't a climate. I mean, the First Minister talks about a climate crisis, but there can't be that much of a crisis if he's prepared to get on a plane. These people open themselves up because they're morons. He lacks political nous, doesn't he? It just... Stupid man. Stupid and horrible man, but stupid man mainly. And, it's all this, we've got to go to a Muslim country and spend our money in a Muslim country. Can't spend it here. Why? Want to be warm. Spain's warm. Just saying. What's he want to go for? Was it going to be sunbathing, is it? Anyway, I should stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video. And I will speak to you later. Bye.